In this episode from my Palmistry series, I'm dealing with the lines, and in particular, the lines of children. The lines of children are found here on the Mount of Mercury. They're vertical lines running from the relationship lines. These are the most difficult lines to read with accuracy for a few reasons. Firstly, women have more control over how many children they have, so someone who might have had 5 children in the 1950s now might only have 1. Secondly, the children shown on a hand might be stepchildren or adopted children, particularly if the person is very close to them. With blended families, this is occurring more often. For increased accuracy, it's usually best to only read the children lines showing on the final love relationship line. If there are many children lines, only read the clearest ones. It's interesting to examine both hands because the non-writing hand reveals how many children a person was destined to have, whereas the writing hand shows how many he or she is likely to have. The gender of children is even more difficult than judging the number of children shown in a hand. In general terms, straight lines and thick lines indicate boys. Thin lines or curved lines indicate girls. However, a sensitive, creative boy can show up as a thin, curved line, and a sporty, independent girl sometimes shows as a straight line. Not all male children want to play football, and not all young females are interested in dolls and makeup. If you're unsure about the number of children, take your time. The first child is the line closest to the edge of the hand. The last one is closest to the thumb on the love relationship lines. On a woman's hand, usually all of her children show in her writing hand. On a man's hand, only those children he's close to show up on his hands. Sometimes 2 lines set very closely together can indicate twins, and less often a Gemini child. Miscarriages and terminated pregnancies can show as a forked line, with the fork starting as the line leaves the relationship line. These lines tend not to be as strong as existing children because these children don't actually arrive in the family. Grandchildren sometimes appear on the Mercury Mount beyond the relationship lines. These short lines are usually not attached to the relationship lines, and only the grandchildren close to the person will show. This means that if a person has grandchildren who live interstate or overseas, they're less likely to show because these grandchildren are not part of the person's everyday life. In this image, the yellow arrows point to children, whereas the green arrows point to grandchildren. The genders are determined the same way as for children lines. Basically, a straight line is a boy and a curved line is a girl. There tends to be a longer gap between children and grandchildren on the relationship lines, and most grandchildren show on the Mercury Mount beyond the relationship lines. It can be difficult sorting out actual children from small incidental lines on the hands, so using a magnifying glass and bright light can help. In this image, the lines with the green arrows are not counted. Only those lines with the yellow arrows are considered strong enough to be children lines. Sunlight is best, and quartz halogen globes also offer bright light. LED globes are not effective when reading hands, as they don't actually offer good light for reading fine lines. The age of parentage when a child arrives can sometimes be indicated by a small upward branch from the lifeline. This upward branch indicates a positive milestone, but it's not always the arrival of a child. It can also signal a new job, a promotion, the purchase of a new home, meeting a new partner, or an inheritance. It's important to remember that children lines are the last lines read in a full palm reading because all preceding information weighs on whether the person is likely to want or not want children. The mounts or fleshy pads around the edges of the palms are a guide as to whether the person is likely to enjoy family life or prefers solitude. If a person has several vertical lines on Saturn, he or she is less likely to pursue relationship opportunities and often will not want children. Saturnians tend to find children noisy, unpredictable, and a poor financial investment. Saturnian types prefer their own company. If a person has a full lunar mount, he or she is likely to want a large family. These people live for the sound of small children laughing and enjoying themselves. They are sentimental and take lots of photos of the children as they grow and develop. Lunar types tend to be patient and nurturing with children and also with the elderly. These people enjoy working in daycare centres, teaching kindergarten or as teachers and teachers' aides in the first 2 years of grade school. Remember that the lines in our hands are changing gradually and continuously. If you want to chart this for yourself, take some photographs of your hands today and every year for a decade. The hands of children change more rapidly, especially as they enter puberty. That's when some people develop knotty fingers. Smooth and knotty fingers are covered in an earlier episode from this series. If you want to know more about your hands and what they reveal about you, I offer distance palmistry readings from photographs. Using supplied photos, I send a report, usually within 48 hours, and this inexpensive way of looking at your hands gives you an analysis of the major lines, the mounts, the shape of the hands, gives you a basic grasp of what palmistry reveals.